We got busted because we went to Darlington and we had that COT had just come out, and Tony Jr. had figured out something.
We made wing mounts, so we're pushing through Tech, and we had already made it out of the Tech line, pushing it up the hill. They're like, take those wing mounts off, take the wings off. And I looked at Two Bear and I said, Two Bear, they got us. And they got them wing mounts laying, though they just took off our cars laying on that table. Two Bear looks at me and goes, oh man, I'm going to grab those wing mounts right there and I'm going to take off running.
The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. All right, everybody, Tony Gibson's out in the lobby, and we're going to bring him in here in a second, but just excited to talk to him. He's got a really great story, kind of the I wouldn't say rags to riches, but it's basically the story of how you get involved in this industry. There's a lot of people like Tony, and we have some that come to this table and tell us their story, and there's so many clues and little bits of information for all of y'all out there that are like, man, I want to be a mechanic. I want to be a crew chief. How do I get in the industry? Well, here's a story of, perseverance, dedication, hard work, loyalty, and man, he has been around the sport a long time. His role, his abilities, and what he offered to a team were in high demand, and he never was without a team or a program that needed his help. And so let's get him in the room. Let's talk to him. Tony Gibson on the Dale Jr. Download. What's up?
Man, how you, buddy?
How are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
Ain't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit. This is you right here.
All right.
So, Tony Gibson on the Dale Jr. Download. First off, before we dive into the early days, Tony was part of the DEI days back in the mid-2000s. Worked at Hendrick Motorsports before that. Currently works at Hendrick Motorsports today.
Yep.
But one thing that I don't know about you or know a lot about you is your family and y'all's history in racing. And that was something that I thought would be fun to learn more about today. Born in Daytona.
Yep. Daytona Beach.
Man, to me, Daytona was the most fun, or one of the most fun, next to the night race at Bristol. One of the most fun stops on the circuit or during the series, especially when I was younger. But even as I got into racing myself and was able to run around town, and there's just a lot to do.
Yeah.
When you're there at the racetrack and there for the race weekend. But what was it like growing up there with that racetrack in your neighborhood?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because everybody looked at that racetrack as so much history. So they're like, man, you live in Daytona. It's gotta be cool. Locals
embraced it.
Yes. And we raced all the short tracks around there.
There were a ton of short tracks in that area.
Yes, exactly. And we raced them all. We didn't have a lot of money. So, Dad, he repaired old cars, and he worked for the phone company. And so Dad worked his guts out so me and my brothers could go and race.
Did your dad drive?
No, Dad drove back in the day.
Yeah.
And but Tiny Lund drove my dad's cars.
Oops.
Yep. And so there's a lot of cool pictures. I wish I'd have brought them, but so Dad's raced his whole life. Mm-hmm. And so we grew up in racing. We built our own cars, chassis. Growing up, Glenn's Junkyard was right through the woods, about 300 yards. So he'd send us over there to get parts, right? Mm-hmm. Glenn was cool. He'd give us whatever we wanted. You just had to come get it yourself.
What part of, I hate to interrupt, but what area of Daytona am I at?
You are approximately 5 miles from Daytona International Speedway, right
West
down Nova Road.
East or west?
East.
So East. Toward the beach.
Yep, towards the beach.
Shoot.
Yep, and it was my mom retired from the Speedway. She was president of the ticket office. She was there for 27 years.
Damn.
So, I can remember Mom working there, and Mike Helton was working in the mailroom. And Mike was transporting mail. I'd see him taking mail from the 2-3 different buildings that they had because it was real small.
Yeah.
So, but I can remember Mike working there, running mail back and forth to the different buildings.
What was going to school and just growing up in that area like?
It was a lot of fun. It was hot. but it was a lot of fun. I spent most of my time racing. A lot of the school events that a lot of kids went to, I didn't go to because we were racing. I'll never forget one story, which I got in trouble for was, so I was going to go to prom, right? So this girl was going to the prom. I really didn't want to do it, but I'm like, all right, I'll take her to the prom. And we were having a big race over at Barberville. So, and we would run like New Smyrna on Friday night or Buffalo on Friday night and run Brunswick, Georgia on Saturday on dirt. And we'd groove our tires and go. So at that point in time, we weren't going on Saturday. We were just going to run Friday night. Well, Dad decides we're going to go run dirt on Saturday. And I'm like, Dad, it's prom. I got to take this girl to the prom. So he's like, well, you've already made a promise to her. You're going to have to do it. Well, I'm like, how am I going to get out of this, dude? I got to have some reason to get out. I'm going racing. I'm not going to this prom thing, right? So we had a St. Bernard named Dominic. So I made up this story. I'm a kid, right? So I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this? So I told this girl, I said, I can't take you to the prom. I have to go to the dog show. We're taking our dog to the dog show, so I'm not going to be able to go.
Damn.
So
that's terrible.
That's bad, yeah, but I used it, right? So it worked. Well, her mom and their parents were pretty upset. So they called my mom and said, what's the deal? You got to go to this. We don't have a dog show. Well, I get in big trouble, right? So my mom's mad. Everybody's mad. Dad is mad, but not really mad, right? So
he knows the deal.
Yeah, so we're sitting at the kitchen table, and Mom's just devastated, and that I would do that, and I'm trying to explain why I love racing. This is what I want to do. And Dad's really scolding me, but the whole time he's looking at me, he's winking. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, so I'm thinking, am I okay or not okay?
Yeah.
So we get all done, and so I go outside, and Dad grabs me and says, come on up to the shop. And so we get up to the shop, and I said, Dad, I'm really sorry. I said, but I love racing. This is all I want to do is race. I didn't want to go to the prom. He said, son, it's okay. I love to race too. It's all I want to do is race. He said, but sometimes you make responsibilities that you have to stick to. He said, so you need to understand, you don't have to go to the prom. You come with me racing, but you got to make better decisions.
Yeah.
So we ran as many short tracks as we could run. Sometimes we'd run 3 nights a week. So that's all I did growing up. I didn't do football. I didn't do baseball. I raced. I can remember as a kid riding bicycles over to Smoky Unique shop.
Damn.
And hanging out over there.
Yeah.
You could go over there, and for a nickel, you could pull a drink out of the front of the Coke machine and just hang out and spend time with Smoky.
They didn't run kids off over there?
No.
Seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't allow people just be
No. Now, he would watch you. He wouldn't let you touch nothing or get into nothing, but he let you hang out. And so Smoky Unique Jr. actually drove my dad's late model down there a few times.
Yep.
So we knew him very well. My grandfather did the wiring they had those offshore racing boats, had the twin 427s in there. And so Dad built motors for him as well, and my grandfather did electrical work.
There's a debate about Smokey and him belonging in the Hall of Fame. Do you think he's Hall of Fame worthy? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that he'll ever make it in, but absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of the things that he has done for racing and even outside of racing, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the smartest mans I ever been around in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. Little Smokey was colorblind. Y'all know? You didn't know that? Yeah, well, yeah, he was colorblind. So Dad let him drive our cars. So he was always coming up with cool stuff to put on the car. And, Dad didn't know he was colorblind. Well, we got in a big wreck one night at New Smyrna Speedway. Well, they're waving a caution. He can't tell the caution from a green or any. All he knew was checkered. He couldn't tell white or nothing.
Sure.
Well, we just plow right into him. I mean, we just caused the biggest wreck you could ever seen. And that's when we found out that Smoky Unique Jr. was colorblind. So they wouldn't let him race anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
So they he couldn't race.
That was the end of that.
Yeah, it was the end of that. Done. But a great family.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Your 2 brothers, Mark and
Mark and Peppy.
Yep. They both raced.
Yes.
They drove. Mark drove quite a bit.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Why didn't you want to drive?
I don't know. I never really showed any desire to drive. I loved working on them.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I didn't. Dad had asked me.
You didn't see your brother go, oh, damn, yeah, when's my turn?
Yeah, I know. No. I never did. I loved working on them.
Yeah.
I loved doing everything I could with race cars. I loved fiddling with them, working on them. I was in a demolition derby one time.
Mm-hmm. How'd that go?
But that's it. Not too good.
Yeah.
I got hit, knocked my battery out. And his battery ended up in the seat with me. And so that didn't go so good. But I don't know. I love working on cars, race cars. And I still do today. I'm just a hands-on guy, and I don't know why. I just didn't.
So your brothers,
Yep.
Mark, I want to learn more about Mark, but
Yep.
Pepe, what kind of driver was he?
So Pepe was a middle brother, and he was the wild one, right, out of the group. So he was a crazy wild one out of the group. So Pepe was really good. He was a good driver. Got hurt at New Smyrna. The wall kind of jots off of 4. You know how the wall comes
Yes.
out right there? Well, he hit right there. Well, when he did, he broke his kneecap on the left side. And Pepe never won, but Pepe could run top 5 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a solid top 5 guy, had speed, just never could close it and win.
Yeah.
Mark was just the opposite. Mark could take a 5th place car and win with it. And you know, I got to understand, we didn't have the money that all these other guys, Gary Blue, Billy Harvey, Dickie Anderson, those guys, Punky Cook.
Y'all were racing against all those guys?
Yes.
God almighty.
Yeah, we raced against.
I don't know how anyone beat Gary Blue back in the day.
So we raced against all them guys. But I'll tell you a story about those guys. They took care of us, right? So we blew up one night, and we were done. It was Speed Weeks. It was 10 nights of racing down there.
Around what time frame is this?
This was back in 79, 80. And so we didn't have the money. We're done. Dad had a little old 302. That's what we ran. We turned the crap out of it to try to keep up, right? So Billy Harvey was parked right beside us. And he come over, walked over and said, "You boys done?" Dad's like, "Yeah, we're done. You know, we're going to have to go home." It was like night 3, I think. And he says, "You're not done." And Dad's like, "Yeah, I don't have a motor. This is it." He says, "Sir, what's your name?" He said, "Bo Gibson." He said, "Bo, you're not done." He says, "You're going to come over to my truck and you're going to get a motor and you're going to take it home. You're going to put it in your car. You're going to come back tomorrow night." Dad's like, I can't do that. I don't have the money to pay you for this." He said, "You don't understand. You don't owe me nothing. You're going to take that motor home and put it in." So we did, and nothing fit. Right, we had to make everything to get this motor in.
Yeah.
But we put the motor in. We finished. We won 2 nights out of it.
Damn.
Which was, for us was great.
Yeah.
So we built a relationship with those guys, and every time we would show up, they would help us out. They'd qualify on brand new stickers and wouldn't run them again. They would give them to us.
Damn.
And didn't take nothing for it. No money, no nothing. Those were the coolest guys to be around that you learn from. They're smart guys, hell of a racers.
Did you know, or did y'all have any idea what they were getting into in terms of their smuggling? And all
we
that
did
stuff?
after a few years.
Yeah. Gary got arrested in 81.
Yeah.
But so in 79, they were at the height of their their smuggling ring.
Yeah, but it didn't. We knew what they did, because what they would do is they would come in with dualies. Back then, dualies in a nice trailer was it, man. They had the tire racks up top that were solid on the side and their names all over it, and every row of tire is brand new. They had 4 or 5 sets of brand new wheels and tires. They'd never get them off the truck, right? And then you look over, and Harvey and all them, their 2 trucks, they was the same way. They never take those new tires off. But then at the end of the night, when it was time to leave, they'd all get in separate trucks, different trucks, and pull out and leave. And the tires never came off. And we figured it out after a while. That's where the stuff was. It was in them tires. They were moving them in tires.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was cool. But I'm telling you, they never treated us. They treated us great. They treated us like, how can we help you?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
they were racers.
They're racers.
Yeah.
And they appreciated what we were doing as just, a family, young family, trying to go and race and do well.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Gary Blue, and around that time, I talked to Mark Martin, and those guys would come up and run Speed Weeks, and that was around the time when, like, aero and all kinds of things. It was a wild, wild west. There were really no limitations and rules, and things just kind of got crazy. And I know that one particular speed weeks, it was like everybody, once Gary rolled his car into the track and off the trailer, everybody ran out and bought all the metal up. There wasn't no metal tin or anything left in the town of Daytona or New Smyrna to be able to get the aerodynamics and stuff on those cars.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. I mean, you would try to go buy aluminum and do all that stuff, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I remember one time, and you probably remember this car, is Billy Harvey showed up with a complete clear car. Everything was clear.
No.
And all these upper, lower A-frames, everything was chromed out, but the whole thing was Lexan clear. Yeah, it was awesome, dude.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was cool. I mean, you know.
Just because he could.
Just because he could.
Yeah.
And I think those guys would have been fine, but I remember it was Winston Cup Scene, I believe it was, or Motorsports magazine that had a picture of Billy Harvey's
I remember
I was
it
like,
was Stock Car magazine.
that was it. And I'm like,
it's a big spread.
that's a big spread. I'm like,
It had his Cup car, his ARCA car, his super late model, go-karts, and everything was
it had the Indy car, remember? Because he had the Indy car. Everything
Blue 31.
That's right. Everything was perfect. And I think that was kind of when everybody saw that, it drew attention to him. And I think that was that was probably one of the biggest.
Have you read Gary Ballew's book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
He is an awesome guy.
Yeah.
I remember they would come down there, when they'd soak tires, you're not supposed to soak tires, but you'd soak them, and they'd peel off pit lane. They'd be black strips all the way out to the other end,
Yeah.
And they'd run, I remember they run nitrous in the frame rails.
Yep.
They blew a frame rail out one time at New Smyrna. It was hot during their firecracker week down there, and it blew the frame. Bottle got hot and it blew the frame apart.
Jesus.
And there's some cool stories, dude, I'm telling you.
So getting back to Mark, is it safe to assume that Mark's driving and his success is kind of what bridged the gap to you getting into the industry?
Yes, 100%.
And he raced locally around New Smyrna and some of the tracks.
Yep.
And eventually decided
ARCA racing.
ARCA.
Yep.
Why?
Dad just wanted to take it to the next level. Because Dad actually, Barnett Bank, back in the Superbirds, Dad owned 2 Superbirds. So, and Smokey Unick helped him with the engine stuff and everything. And so Dad wanted to get back in to the higher ranks of racing.
So he had a couple Superbirds that raced?
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Oh yeah. We
At
raced them
Daytona?
at Daytona.
In the ARCA series?
Yeah. Talladega, Daytona. No, in the Cup.
In the Cup?
Yeah.
Who drove them?
So, Tiny Lund drove my dad's car, and Bobby Isaac.
Oh, what was the color?
Yeah. It was
number?
It was number 70. It was 72, 73. 72, I think 72 was when Isaac ran it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they changed the number to 98. I still got postcards at the house. That cool stuff.
Damn.
Yeah.
So he had a couple of Cup cars.
Yep.
And just ran the big tracks.
Yep, that's right. And then Dad wanted to get back into the upper ranks, so we started ARCA racing. So then we met Billy Blue. Billy Blue, right? So Billy Blue wanted us to come run ARCA, and he was going to sponsor us. So that's how we got hooked up with and got the money to go and run in ARCA.
Yeah.
It was through Billy Blue.
Mark had a lot of success in ARCA.
Yep.
That's when I first kind of started remembering, or connecting that to you and understanding your family had more. There was more to, the Gibson family than just, what I knew about you. And I'd watched Mark run a bunch of times over the years, but not really understood that was your brother, your family.
Yeah.
Talk about his success and talk about, tell us, our listeners, what he was able to do.
Yeah, so again, we did a lot with less, obviously, but Mark was one of those drivers, and even when he was, the underdog at a dirt track or a late model short track, he had that drive, he had that desire. and he was not a quitter, no matter what. And he reminded me a lot of Alan. I ended up working for Alan later, but Mark reminded me of that because Mark was always had a desire to do better, and even when he won, it wasn't good enough, right? He wanted to win more. And so Mark could work on the car. He could build the engines. He could, he was right there with us every day. And his love for racing and his love for driving was like no other.
Yeah. Help me understand, I guess, you ended up going to community college at Daytona, graduating with a degree in tool and die making, moved to North Carolina. Where is your brother's career when you took a left turn?
So through running ARCA, Norman Negre was doing Venturini and Churchill's ARCA stuff. So that's how I met Norman. So when I met Norman asked me to come up and go to work.
Yep.
So
what about leaving your brother?
I'm like, well, here's my chance. Well,
he didn't. Yeah.
It was hard. It was tough.
Sure.
But here's my chance to.
What year is this?
Go further. This was 86.
How's your brother doing? What races have you won?
So Mark was doing good. We've won, several ARCA races. Mark was really good on the dirt, decoying, and we'd won Texas. Was
this Texas World?
Yeah, the old Speedway. Remember that?
Big old track.
Yeah, and so it was tough. And Mark was still wanted to do the coins, and they would travel everywhere and race, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to be, I can remember in my dad's shop, thinking about watching races, want to be a crew chief, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. So here was my chance, and I asked Dad and Mark, and we sat down, and I said, "Here's my opportunity to go and do this." And they're like, "Tony, we support you. Whatever you want to do." I mean, it was there was some crying going on, and it was tough, but I knew what I wanted to be. I knew who I wanted to be, and here was my opportunity.
You went and moved into Norman Negre's barn.
Barn, yes. So
when I hear the word barn,
it's a barn. Yeah, it was a red barn over on Lane Street. So my dad, I had an '84 Blazer, and transmission wasn't great. So I had a few those packing abs, you get. My mom gave me some of that stuff, and I headed out, dude. I made it to Norman's, and I slept at the shop for about a week, and then my dad brought up a camper. Had one of them campers go back.
Where in the shop?
In the floor, in the shop.
What? Just in the corner?
In the shop. Yeah, and then Norman finally took me. I was there about probably 4 days, and Norman finally took me over to stay with him and Penny, but that was going to be short lived.
Yeah.
So
why?
Well, I could just tell. Norman was like,
You still relatively. They knew you, but
not that kind.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my dad brings up this camper. It goes on the back of a pickup truck. Got the legs that drop down, right? And you drive out. My dad pulls in, backs it in the barn, drops the legs. Dad pulls out, heads back to Florida, and here I am.
Now that was your house,
and that's my home. So. So I'm like, okay, I got this. That's no problem. So we get through a few months, and now it's getting cold. It's snowing, and it's really cold. And I said, "Hey, Norman," I said, "Man, I need a heater, some kind of heater. Can you help me out? Because I don't have anything." He's like, "I got you. I'll be right back." I'm like, "Cool, man. This is gonna be nice right here. He's gonna bring me back a heater. I'm gonna be set." So I hear a knock on my camper door. I said, "Yeah, come on in," because I knew it was Norman. Norman throws the door open, throws a Rottweiler. He's got a dog, Rottweiler dog. "Here's your heater." Threw the dog in there for me to stay warm with. That was my heater, a dog to cuddle with. I'm like, holy crap. Like, no, dude, I need a heater, like a heater.
Yeah.
"Well, this will do till we can get you something. I don't have nothing right now."
Damn.
So I'm like, okay. So the dog stayed in there with me for a long time. Finally ended up made enough money to get me a heater. Mm-hmm. Norman made you work for everything.
Yes.
Which is correct. I'm okay with that.
Take me inside Norman's shop.
So it was really small. It's the main building on the left. I don't know if you've been there, right? So that first building on the left.
Yep.
Really small at that point in time. we had a makeshift paint booth towards in the back. It was petitioned off and wasn't much, fan and whatever we could do. And then, so about 2 years, I think it was 87. It's either 87 or 80, I can't remember. Well, Alan comes in and rents part of the building, Kulwicki.
Yeah.
So that took up one
He
whole
got the
end.
Ford, the Quincy's Ford?
Yes. So that's in the building close to Lane Street,
Yeah.
on that end of the building. Well, we got Churchill and Venturini's cars in there that were fixing the bodies on, and we'd get them prepared and set them up and do all that and go. So it was small. I mean, it was very, very small. And then we would do some of the Robert Yates. We were hanging bodies for them as well. So, dude, our shop was full.
Mm-hmm.
There was nowhere to move. So yeah, it was like working in the studio right here.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't much room. But we made it work.
Yeah.
But that's where I met Alan. Alan could see what I could do. I was hanging bodies and doing those and doing the mechanical work on those two cars, which I loved. Day and night, I was there all hours.
When you go to the racetrack on the weekends, what are you doing?
So mechanicking, setting up.
For who?
Both
of them?
Both of them. We had to oversee both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we packed the bearings, we did all that stuff. Like we maintenanced them and all this other stuff at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Norman would get in and go to the racetrack as well. So yeah, it was busy, crazy. You didn't make a lot of money, but it's what I wanted to do.
Yep.
I think I was making like $175 a week.
Yeah. Did you get to know Ed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Negre?
Only a couple times. Yes,
Yeah.
when he flew in.
Oh.
A couple times.
Flew in. Was
Yeah.
he? You didn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't around all the time.
No, not all the
I
time.
gotcha.
No. So I met him a couple times.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Norman was relatively young.
Yes.
To be managing all that by himself.
Yes, but he was very good at it. Which Norman.
Was it coincidental that you and Norman would end up at Stewart-Haas together?
Yes, that's crazy.
Decades later.
I know, it's crazy,
Right?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Norman pretty much gave me my break. To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
Kind of did the same for Dad, and when Ed let Dad drive
yeah,
his dad's first Cup race at Charlotte with help, and Dad and Norman are together that whole weekend.
Yeah.
So kind of neat.
Norman gave me my start, taught me a lot, educated me in things I had no idea that I didn't know. But Norman is the reason I'm where I'm at right now. If he doesn't give me my job, I'm still in Florida.
Yeah.
So I owe Norman a lot.
So when did Alan call you?
He talked to me he was at the shop. So.
At the shop, yeah. So
Yeah.
y'all kind of got to know each other through just being at the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
And then what's that conversation like? Hey, I want you to come work for me.
He said, man, I see what you can do. You're a hard worker. I'm going to he was going to rent a shop over off International, and I'm going to move over there and like for you to come to work for me. Well, that's tough, right? Because Norman's gave me everything to this point, but again, here's my shot. Here's my opportunity to go and race full time. So that was difficult with Norman. He wasn't happy.
Oh,
No. I think he wasn't happy because, again, he gave me my chance and he taught me pretty much everything. But I was torn between letting Norman down.
Yeah.
But, again, here's my opportunity.
Yeah, you got to go.
So I did. And like I said, Norman wasn't real happy, but we made up, shortly after that, and things were fine. And then so I moved in with Alan off International, which the shop wasn't much bigger. Actually, it was probably a little smaller.
Damn.
Than we were at Norman's.
Yeah.
And we would push cars in and out every day to work on one car. We did not have a body shop. He went and finally Alan bought some plywood, and we put up, he put one of those big old fans that you get at Lowe's or whatever. And we put that in, opened the door, and that was our paint booth.
Yeah. What car is Alan driving at this moment?
Ford, the Fords.
Yeah, but the sponsor. What year? Was
Oh.
it still the Quincy car? Or
That was
is he
got
the Z-Rex?
Z-Rex.
Damn, he ran that Z-Rex car.
Yeah.
So you were with him when he goes to Phoenix and gets the first win?
No, I was not hit. I was not
there
with him.
yet?
Not there yet.
So this is after that?
Yes.
And he's still in this tiny little...
Yes.
Damn.
We moved into the new shop at over by the Speedway in 1990. Okay. That's when we moved in there.
Gotcha.
That was our...
Who all worked at this... who all worked with Alan? Because there's a few people that are pretty recognizable names that were part of that team.
Well, Ray Evernham was there short-lived. Ray was there when we were in the new building.
Why didn't Ray told me that he just didn't fit in there for some reason.
He didn't, but I kind of saw it right off. Here's two really intelligent guys that are super smart.
Yeah.
And they both were really believed in what their goals were and their direction.
Yeah. Who's the two people? Ray and who?
This is Ray and Alan.
Ray and Alan.
Oh yeah. So because Paul was crew chiefing.
Yep. But what was Ray's role?
Well, Ray was going to head up the engineering side of things, like get things better.
There wasn't even engineering departments back then.
There wasn't.
No.
So this was, that's what Alan was driven by, right?
Yeah.
Mechanical engineering, and then here comes Ray. Ray's going to take us to the next level, and we were going to be the engineering first group to go that way.
Golly.
Dude, we went to Daytona that year, and I'll never forget this. I've told this story a lot, but so I'd always check frame rails, heights, and all that stuff. And so Alan's like, hey, Ray's going to do the frame heights and all this stuff, but you go behind and make sure they're right. And I'm like, and he tells us once we get to the racetrack at Daytona. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Alan, I don't think this is going to work. I said, because he's going to be mad at me for checking behind him.
Right.
Like he's like, no, just do it. I gotta make sure it's done right, and until I can trust him, you're gonna go behind him and check him. Well, I did, and it didn't go very well.
Right,
and rightfully so for Ray, because Ray was gonna head this deal up and get us going. So Ray had his thoughts how things ought to be done, and I was fine with whoever just give me a direction. So I go behind him, and I'm checking frame heights, and Ray gets done. He's like, what are you checking my frames? I'm like, well, Alan wanted me to check just to make sure everything's right. So there's this trust thing now that pops up. Mm-hmm. Well, they start getting into it. Like, that's the beginning.
Week one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is Daytona.
Yeah.
Week one.
Yeah.
So Ray and Alan, start yelling back and forth. Ray's doing more yelling than Alan, because Ray's mad. I mean, he is frustrated. And I understand why. And we're all standing there like, oh, Lord, here we go. So I'll never forget Ray after he got done yelling. Alan took his tape measure and threw it, and Alan's standing at the toolbox, and the tape measure goes right by him, slams into the toolbox. Ray walks over, shuts his briefcase, gets his briefcase, walks out of the garage area. Alan's right after him, and we're still standing there going, what's going on?
Yeah.
Ray walks right out of there, walks right through the gate. Remember, there was a gate that separated the Cup garage from the Sportsman garage. He walks right through there, where here comes Bill Davis walking the other way. And that's how they connected.
And so Ray went to work for Bill.
Just that quick.
Damn.
And here we are. Ray's gone.
Ray's gone.
Yep.
Damn.
Now we're on our own. But so I'll never forget Ray telling me this later that week is, and he yelled this at Alan several times, that, you'll never win a championship running your operation like this. You'll never win it. And we ended up winning the championship in '92. And Ray said, I was wrong. I never thought he would, but Alan had direction and believed in certain things, and it happened. So me and Ray talk about that story a lot.
Yeah.
But to witness it all and watch those two guys, Ray, we go on to win a championship. And Ray goes on to be, a 4-time, crew chief, Cup champion, John, for working for Jeff Gordon. It's just crazy how two paths collided and they separated, and both of them ended up,
very successful.
Very successful.
Different routes.
Yeah.
Different ideals.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, you want the latest Dale Jr. download apparel? Visit shop.dirtymomedia.com. We're always adding new stuff all the time, especially like when we say something silly on this show. We'll put it on a T-shirt. Again, check it out at shop.dirtymomedia.com. Let's talk about Alan. Alan Kulwicki was incredibly successful in the ASA ranks, moved into the NASCAR Cup Series, struggled on a very tight budget to get from one track to the next. Struggled because I guess, right around the same time Mark Martin came into the series, came into the sport. And Mark, is great and as amazing driver as he was, he too had financial hardships and, wasn't able to make that first go stick. But Alan was able to figure it out, right? And had maybe a little more stability with the Quincy deal. And then the Z-Rex deal comes along, and from the outside looking in, it's a growing, successful business. The facade, and I'm just saying, like the race cars, the logos,
yep.
The way he handled himself, the way he dressed, the way he carried himself, everything from on the shell looks like it's going well.
Yeah.
And now I know it wasn't easy, and he had to cut some corners financially but he would still find the success on the racetrack. The opinion I think that I had of Alan, and the one that I would often hear piecing together people's opinions and conversations, is he was incredibly driven. He was a genius in many aspects, but abrupt or upfront, no filter. I mean, how would you describe like being in a conversation with this guy, or when things got serious and he was being honest about something that needed to change or some direction he wanted to go with the car, the team, or anything?
Yep.
Take me into the room and let's be honest about Alan, right? Because, I mean, he was successful and there were reasons for that.
Yes.
And some people worked in that environment very well. Paul seemed to...
Yes.
Paul seemed to be able to be the perfect gear for that.
Yeah, we finally put a group together that Alan had a goal. He had a vision. And this is the way it was. Alan was a very good businessman. Mm-hmm. Like he knew exactly every dime that got spent and what it took, what he could survive on, and what he didn't. He knew exactly where to put his money, what to spend the money on. Dude, we would straighten rims. Like we would bend rims, and if it wasn't totally killed, we'd come home and straighten rims because we wouldn't spend the money to buy new rims.
Sam, it's been a while since I've straightened a rim.
Yeah, so, and back when we put interliners in, right? So Goodyear would charge you $5 to pull the interliners in and out. We would do all that.
Yeah.
Alan told us, if you take care of me, I will take care of you. Like, I'll make sure we have a company. I'll make sure we have a business, but you guys are going to have to help me. It's not going to be fun. Road's going to be rough, but we're going to do this. I promise you, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And it was hard for a lot of them to buy into that. We had a revolving door of employees for a long time. But there was a group of us that stuck together because we believed in his vision. But you take Alan outside of racing, where he could just unclick his mind. We could go to the movies with him. He could go eat, and he was a totally different guy. I mean, my relationship, my wife Beth, our relationship with him and Julie was really good. We'd go to the movies. We'd go to dinner. We'd go do things outside of racing. He's a totally different guy.
Yeah.
He could just flip the switch, and now he's a fun guy. And a lot of people didn't see that side of him. And we believed in his vision, and we believed in the direction we were going to go, and we stuck it out with him. He was convincing in that he could convince you that my way is going to work. He had that about him. But there were some that didn't believe in him and wouldn't stick it out.
Yeah. The car owner driver combo was not, in that particular stretch, was one that was hard to get be confident in.
Yeah.
I mean, the secure and successful teams had big sponsorships and tenured owners that had built some etiquette or built some equity in the sport, and he come in and tried to turn in what was really an independent team.
Mm-hmm.
Like being an independent was a heavy label.
It was tough.
Yeah, and he was
Yeah.
an independent that turned his team into
Yes.
a winning championship team.
Yes.
And there wasn't many people that were going to walk into the NASCAR world at that time and do that.
Right, but I'm telling you, dude, he had that drive and he had a vision that he was going to make it work, and he was not going to step down from that. Like he knew he was the underdog. He knew that
he fed into that.
He fed into it.
Yeah,
exactly. And man, it just made him. And the first time we started having success and started winning more races, multiple races. The more he believed in it, like this is going to happen. I can do this. And we saw the same thing. Like we believed in it as well. Like, man, this guy is right. Like everything he's been telling us is right.
The championship season in '92.
Yeah.
Do you remember Dover?
Yeah. Wrecked 3 times.
Wrecked 3 cars.
Yeah.
How many cars did you have total?
4. One back in, we had 2 at the shop and 2 with us, and we only had 4 total.
Yeah.
And
you're in the middle of a championship battle and had literally what I think would have been a death nail.
Yeah.
For most teams.
100%.
At Dover.
Yeah.
And I know this is a long time ago, but I remember the look on Alan's face after that weekend, how you could just sense like this guy was. I don't know how you feel about that particular weekend, but to me that was the moment where Alan was probably tested the most.
Yes.
He'd worked so hard to climb this steep hill, right? And
so close. We were there, like
you're right there.
Right there. Yeah, 100%.
And that was like, damn, we just tore up everything we got.
We did. Tore up everything.
Blowing motors.
Oh, yeah. And it was and stuff we couldn't control. That was the whole thing. And the second car we wrecked, I felt bad because we just wrecked in practice. And so we were getting the other car. We're thrashing, trying to get it done. But trying to be everybody keep them pumped up, And Alan's getting buckled up. He's getting in the car. And I said, hey, if you wreck this one, how about bringing me the damn steering wheel back if you don't mind? We wreck. Here he comes walking down pit road with that steering wheel in his hand. I got the steering wheel at home. Dated, signed, Alan Kulwicki. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He brought me to, you talking about somebody who felt about that big? I did, standing on pit road. Had no clue. But he handed me the steering wheel. He said, here you go. But we dug deep, and Paul was a good leader too. We don't want to forget that, right? Paul Andrews was a good leader too. He stepped up, kept us together, kept the group together, and got us back focused, and we're wrecking the race, right? That's our 3rd car. So we get done, and Alan, we are devastated, right? We're like, man, we're done. There's no way we're going to dig out of this.
How are you going to survive this?
We got so close. Alan drags us all in the truck, in the trailer, and he's like, look, he said, this has been a devastating weekend. He said, but we can do this. We're not out. We're going to fight to the very end. He said, stick with me. I'm not giving up on you guys. Don't give up on me. He said, we're going to fight this thing to the very end. Wherever we end up, but we're going to end up there together. That's what he told us in the trailer when we were getting ready to leave Dover.
Yeah. Went home and tried to fix everything.
Yes.
Well, you end up in Atlanta with a shot.
Yep.
I think when that race started, y'all were still the underdog.
Yes.
Davey Allison in the 28 car looked hard to beat.
Yeah.
Bill Elliott's in a good position driving Junior's car. Davey would get in trouble early with Ernie Irvin off of turn 4, and that ended his day and made it a 2-man race. Y'all ended up battling Bill all the way to the very end.
Yeah.
But it was a little more dramatic than a lot of people may realize.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that everybody knows the story about air cleaner nut
No.
being dropped. So, you warm the motors up in the morning and all that stuff. So we're warming the motor up and everything's good. Danny Glad was our motor guy. We're warming the motor up, and so we go to stick the air cleaner back on it and button everything up to get it ready to go through tech and go race morning. Can't find the little 1/4-inch carburetor nut for the stud. We're looking everywhere. Can't find this thing nowhere, dude. We're looking. We take a bore scope. We go down in all the cylinders. We're looking around. We can't find it nowhere. So now we're running late. So we're like, well, we'll just put another one on it. Put another nut on it. Get everything done. We go. We run. Transmission breaks in the race. We lose gear. I think it was second or third gear we lost during the race.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Damn, when you lose a gear in a transmission, you're probably sitting there going, all right, when's the rest of it coming out?
But we didn't know about the nut. We had no idea.
What do you mean?
We didn't know where it was, right?
Yeah.
So we think we're good. Fell on the ground, it fell on the floor, gone, whatever. So anyway, we run, we race. I'm not going to steal your mess up where you're trying to go with this story, but get over with. We win the championship, right? Everything's great. We get over there. We back in the garage. They tear down. They pump your motor. Remember they screw the thing in there? They go to spin. We go to spin the motor or to pump the motor locks up. We're like, what the hell? Starter won't spin it over. Grab a breaker bar and a wrench on the crank to spin it. Won't spin. It'll spin back a little bit, stop, go back forward and stop. Pull the intake off. That nut had traveled through that whole entire intake, through that whole entire race, back and forth. The inside of the intake was beat like you'd beat it with a claw hammer.
Damn.
When the motor shut off after the race, the nut got lodged on top of the piston and locked it up.
Damn.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
What was the story about you being the fuel man?
Yeah, so I was fuel man.
Yeah.
And which is cool. I'd done it for years.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool because they had a little, little pit crew stuff that would go on, tire changers, gas man. So me and Chocolate Myers were good buddies, and I looked up to him. Mm-hmm. So we were gas men. So we were going back and forth with this competition thing that NASCAR had, and he ended up winning it, which is fine. But so it was cool to have those kind of things, and to be a gas man on a cup car is cool.
Yeah, it was.
Right, it's pretty cool.
It's like being the drummer of the band.
Yeah, so it's all fine. Well, it comes down, we're going to take gas only at the end of this thing. And it's all coming down to fuel mileage, right? So we'd already led one lap more, and so it comes down to fuel mileage. We've got to have 3.5 seconds fuel in this. Now, we don't have anything but we have a scale on the ground, and that's it to tell the fuel.
Not a lot of science to it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, go over there, you count. We don't have an iPad that says 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have all that, right?
Yeah.
So car's coming down, and I step over the wall because you could have one leg over, put your other leg on the wall. I'm holding this can. I look up and down pit road. There ain't nobody else on pit road. I'm like, I'm going to be the only guy on TV out here gassing this car. Now I start getting nervous.
No.
So here he comes down pit road. I am nervous. I'm shaking. So he comes in, pulls in. I hit the thing, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3. And as soon as I nod my head, Paul goes, go. Well, I'm trying to run with it because you could run as far as you could run with it. There wasn't no out of the box crap. None of that.
Yeah.
So I
Just
ran
letting
as
it get
far
another
as I
second.
could, dude. So I unplug, car grips out. I start walking back to the wall, and the whole time I'm feeling this, I'm like, holy shit, this thing feels heavy. I don't know that I got enough fuel in this thing. But I know I counted. I know when I plugged up, there should be more gas missing out of this can.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared.
Yeah.
Now I'm sweating. Now I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And Danny Glad and Paul, they're like, did you get it? Did you? I go, I think I did. I don't know. I counted.
Oh, no.
But the can feels heavy.
Yeah.
So now I'm scared. So my wife, she's 8 months pregnant. So she's back at the back of the pit box. So I give the can so they could weigh the can and try to figure out, did I get enough in it to make it to the end? I'm scared. And I walk over to my wife, Beth, and I walked to her and I said, babe, if this thing runs out of gas, we are running like hell to get in the car and get out of here. They'll kill me if this thing runs out of gas. And she's scared, because she thinks, oh my God. So the last bit of that race, Junior, I'm telling you, it's the most scared I've ever been in my life, because I knew if I failed,
it was you.
I failed everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Like,
Oh yeah.
you are that guy.
Yeah.
You're the guy that, here's your time to shine. But if you fail, it's not just any other race, it's the championship.
You didn't watch him run them last couple of laps.
No, I was scared. No, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, God.
I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
dude. I was sick at my stomach.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, I kept waiting to hear the radio. I'm out of gas, so yeah.
What was the relief?
Oh, it was unbelievable. You can probably see me on pit road. We're all jumping up and down and we're crying, and we did it, man.
Yeah.
We did it. We had a little Minnie Mouse called Underbird. We had because down at the bottom of those Fords down there, they had Thunderbird in the sticker. And Alan wanted to be the Underbird because we were the underdogs going to that weekend. So he had put Underbird, and he put the little Minnie Mouse. It was a little sew-on patch, and we glued it to the mighty.
Yeah.
And we glued it to the front of the car.
Front of the car.
Yeah. So, it was the most stressful, but the most meaningful, powerful in my career racing.
Yeah.
Was that day.
The sport dealt with some heavy loss over the next couple of years, and we would lose Davey and Alan in a very short period of time. Two rising stars that we felt like were going to be contenders and big players and represent our sport for many years. Alan's story was really incredible, as you've described how he was self-made. Paul Andrews has been on my show, and I was really lucky Paul went and helped me run a race with my late model car. So I actually got to kind of experience just a touch of what it's like to be standing there looking out the windshield and he's working on the left front or whatever. It's kind of cool because of his history. But we talked about the shock of learning the truth about Alan, and that he was lost that day. It kind of really took everybody, it took the air out of the whole sport.
Yeah.
When that happened. I just wonder, how we could articulate at this table right now, like how difficult that is to realize that you're kind of faced with the fact that you don't get to choose everything.
Yeah.
This is something that's happening, and you don't get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have a say so.
No.
And we lost our owner, our driver, our friend, our job. Like we lost everything. Like, he was our everything. And our group was a family. Like, we were, a lot of people don't realize that Alan didn't have a lot of really close friends, right? So, we were his family. We joke sometimes he's making us work late just because he wants somebody to spend time with,
yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. Which was fine.
Yeah.
But we lost a great friend and a family member, and we're all standing looking at each other like, what just happened? Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
What are we?
Were you were in Bristol?
Yeah. So we were driving
getting
up.
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were driving up in the van. So, yeah, I don't. It's the closest thing to losing a family member.
Yeah.
That you could, but not being a real blood.
Yeah.
So I remember, going to the airport that night, and trying to figure out and understand not only is this really true, like,
right.
is this?
There was this weird. I remember there being like there's no way that's really what
exactly.
happened.
That's what
For hours,
right?
There being this sort of.
Yeah.
Everybody had hung on to this weird idea that maybe they got it wrong.
Well, it's like,
maybe it's
oh,
not
this
him.
has got to be April Fool's.
It's not his plane.
It's April 1st. It's got to be April Fool's. It's something. It's a sick April Fool's joke, but this is no way this could happen.
Yeah.
But
y'all went to the airport.
So going to that airport and that's when it hit home, dude. I mean, this is real. This is it happened.
So they decided not to race that weekend.
Yeah.
And of course, we remember the images of the truck leaving the racetrack.
Yeah.
That was like there's photos of that still I see on social media from time to time. And it was
gut wrenching.
Gosh, just tough.
I remember Steve Mill. Me and Peter were in the truck getting ready to leave, and I remember Steve Mill jumped across the wall, ran up on the racetrack, and jumped up on the door, and he said, "If you guys want to race, we will make sure you race. Like if you want to put somebody in the car, do you want to do this? We will help you make this happen if this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you think Alan wants this car to run, we'll make it happen."
Yeah.
And we're like, no. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine going through that or doing that, right?
Yeah.
I just...
Yeah, that probably wasn't an option.
No, but everybody there...
wanted it.
Some people didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Some people didn't know,
Yeah.
so they wanted to offer... anything they could to make sure we were taken care of because they realized that we lost everything.
Yeah.
So like it's.
I think that Steve, in that moment or anyone, didn't want you to go home.
Right.
To be alone.
Right. I think
because your family's at that racetrack.
Yes, and see, we flew a lot with Alan. Like we'd fly a lot. And go to his appearances, and we'd eat while he's doing his deal, and then we'd fly and go on. So my wife, Beth, she didn't know I wasn't with him. Yeah, and I never called her and told her any different.
You didn't think about it?
No.
Yeah.
See, Alan was sick. I remember we were scaling the car. We had grain scales. Remember the old grain scales? We were scaling the car, and we're running late, and Alan comes out. He's got his little bowl of soup, and he's watching us, and we're just running late. And he's like, I got to go. I got this appearance. We're like, all right. Paul's like, you go ahead. We'll drive the vans up. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
We're gone. So I never told my wife. And my daughter was only 2 weeks old. So she's home with a 2-week-old. Well, she doesn't know any different. She think I flew with them. And so my brother, Pepe, he lives in Tennessee. He saw it on the news. Well, he calls my wife, because he knew I flew a lot with Alan, and he called and asked Beth, hey, did Tony fly with Alan this weekend, or did they drive? She goes, no, he flew. So he's like, to him, oh God, he was on it. See it. And so he tells my wife, he's like, okay, well, I'll just catch up with him later. Well, he didn't know what to say.
Sure.
So, but then I ended up calling Beth and telling her, thank God nobody got to her before, or Pepe didn't say something to her about it, or here she is with a 2-week-old, think that I'm on the plane as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to be thankful for out of that, but unfortunately, I'll tell you what, I will say one thing. Felix Tavares kind of made sure he came in. Made sure we all got paid, made sure the team kept going, helped picking a driver. Yeah. Yeah. Felix did a great job. We never missed a paycheck. He made sure all the business side of things stayed stable, kept it going until Jeff Bodine could come. And we all know that story there. Yeah. So it ended up, working out okay. But
how long did you stay there?
I stayed till the end of '93.
Wow, a whole another year.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
We had Bo Dime was driving a car. Jimmy Hensley drove some, like
Yep,
Martinsville
I
a couple
remember
times. And it wasn't really the same to me.
Yeah.
And we'd had a couple blown motors, couple wrecks, and just things were just not going great. And I hadn't gotten over it yet, and a lot of us hadn't gotten over it yet. And so I got the opportunity to go to work for Bill Elliott and crew chief his car. So ended up, all right, here's another opportunity.
Bill's got his own team down in Dawsonville.
Yeah, that's right.
So you moved down there.
Yeah, I did.
Moved your family?
Yeah.
How long did you work at Bill's?
So I was there through 97.
It's like 4 years.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I had no clue you ever worked down there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
I've been down there.
Oh, yeah.
I went down to talk to Chase and saw the shops
Yeah.
and the airstrip down and back. I'm sure it looked completely different in the 90s. But when I look at that building and all of that stuff, it's amazing to me that that was it.
That was it.
That's how they did it.
Great people.
Yeah.
Bill and Ernie. Ernie was the stern side. Bill was the softer side, but great people.
Yeah.
Family oriented racers, man. You're back to that grassroots racing family, which was really, really cool. It was hard to get help down there just because you're out of the loop type of thing.
For sure.
And that was one of the reasons that Bill moved his organization back to North Carolina. And I was like, man, I'm not going to move back. I moved my family down here. My wife's family's from Georgia. So and Mark had moved up. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay down here.
You're just going to stay?
I'm just going to stay. So
you ain't going to race?
Well, Mark was still racing.
You going to go help Mark?
So I'm like, I'm going to go back and help Mark. So I did that for a little bit, for about 6 months. And then
damn, I bet Mark enjoyed that.
Yeah, we had fun.
You're
we did really good.
Overqualified.
And then we ended up, because we ended up our first race, we ended up winning at the New Texas Speedway in the Janet King car.
Yes.
And which was really cool, right? I got back with Mark. We go out, we win. It's like, this is, full circle, back to family. Well, then I get a phone call, Ray Evernham, come to work up here at Hendrick Motorsports. Well, okay, it's a great opportunity. Here I go again, but my wife. So I move up. I ended up. You remember Ed Guzzo?
I think so. Yeah.
With Ray. I ended up moving in with him. Left my family down there. I was to see if this works out. This is what
give
I'm
it a little
do.
time.
Give it a little time. So it all worked out, and they ended up moving back up. So, and I worked on the 24 car.
Won 2 championships.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Ray left again in
Ray
99.
left. Yeah. But who comes in there?
Me and Brian Weitzel stay.
Brian was with you over
Yes.
at Allen's.
So Brian was there at Allen's, doing part-time work at Allen's. And great guy. He was an engineer at Peterbilt, and he designed all the cabs and stuff. Really cool guy. And he was an engineer that had a lot of racer in him. He was smart. You could tell the difference in him than a regular engineer.
Yeah.
So he was a lot of fun to be around and cool. So, and then Brian ended up, I was his landlord for about 4 years. He lived in my house that I moved out of. And then Brian ended up working at Hendrick Motorsports. So now I'm back with Ray, Brian, and all the guys one of the guys I gave a part-time job to, now I'm back working with him.
I know.
And then Ray leaves, him and Ed leave, and Rick comes in and says, you two are in. You're doing it. So I was already car chiefing anyway, and then Brian was the head engineer. So Brian ended up crew chiefing. I think we ended up winning like 2 or 3 races in a row.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. But Brian Weitzel, so now Brian, he's like in 3rd or 4th command over at Hendricks.
Yeah.
Great guy. So I go to DEI.
So I want to ask you about that. You went to DEI during the 2002 season.
Yes. Second Talladega.
Why did you leave Hendrick? Hendrick, We both have worked there. You work there now. It's not a place you leave.
You don't, but I was car chiefing for Jeff Gordon, which was awesome. But I don't know. Your path takes you different. You make choices. I'm not saying it was good, bad, or whatever, but had the opportunity to become crew chief for Steve Park. So I'm like, here's my shot to get back in that role. Yeah. Because I want to be that guy.
Want to be that guy.
So here's my chance to go from car chiefing Jeff Gordon to, because I didn't see that happening there.
Right.
And it may have. I just didn't give myself time. I don't know. So I ended up, here's my opportunity again. I'm gone. So I go over to DEI, and dude, that was fun. Like,
your crew chief, Steve.
Yep, Steve. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, he had some, health issues and stuff, but we had a lot of fun. We ran really good. And then it got to where Steve couldn't drive anymore. Remember, and John Andretti come over and drove remember that Burgundy?
Yes, I do. At Daytona.
#1.
Yeah.
So, and then it's kind of like, okay, what do we do with Gibson now? Like, that we don't know what this team's going to do. Where's it going to go? There's other things. So that's when I got hooked up with Pops, Tony Jr., and then the whole story about, bouncing back and forth from the 8 to the 15. And at that point, I just wanted to do whatever I could do to make a difference, and race.
You fit in really good with Tony Sr. and Tony Jr.
Yes, because they're old school racers like how I grew up.
Yeah.
And really smart.
Yep.
So you learned a lot of life lessons with those two, but you learned how to race, like fun race. And I enjoyed the hell out of that. And I learned a ton from Tony Jr. and Pops.
Yeah.
Some what not to do, but more of what to do.
Yeah.
So it helped me be a better crew chief and a better racer from being around those two guys. And still today, Tony Jr. helps me all the time. Our kids run wing carts. And so we get a chance to hang out together and do a lot of fun stuff. And I still learn from them.
The funniest memory that I have of us all being together, we were all messing with RC cars back then. And these things were crazy fast.
Yeah.
And we had these quarter scales that a couple of us were messing with. Well, he's over at my house, and you would stand down in the middle of the track and spin in circles, watching your car go around the track. And like myself, I would stand on the outside edge and drive it, and you had to be in the middle watching it turn in circles. And somehow or another, Tony Sr. was trying to straighten somebody's car out. It got wrecked or something, or somebody was upside down, and he goes down there into the infield to flip his car over. And one of the quarter scales comes in there wide ass open and hit him right in the ankles. And that man, I've never seen somebody go from standing straight up and down
to laying on
his
ground.
Nose.
I'm telling you, dude, that was quick.
He was standing straight up and down, and the next thing that touched the ground was the tip of that man's nose.
Killed him.
I know it.
I thought he was dead.
He was not happy.
He was not happy
and you laughed your ass off. I did too, but damn, I remember you laughing.
That was so funny, but it was scary.
It was kind of scary.
And the scary part about it, if he gets up and he's able, he's going to kick our ass.
Oh, God.
So
I know. We were scared he was hurt, but also equally scared we might get an ass whooping.
That's exactly right. But
somebody run that damn car into his legs. I don't know.
I don't remember who it was. It wasn't me. It was somebody that was watching.
Yeah. Well, it was only you, me, him, and Tony Jr. standing there.
But that's what I'm getting at. God, it was Tony Jr.
Yeah, I think it was Tony Jr.
But we had fun. And, of course, that was all your stuff, and you were gracious enough to let us come and have fun and do that.
Did, yeah.
And you had the little dirt go-kart track. Remember, we came and came and run that. That was a lot of fun. But the RC cars were a ton of fun. And we did some of that with Jeff Gordon a little bit too.
Did you?
Yeah. But
we used to go over to Greenville Pickens and test, and then there was a track right next to there was a track and an RC shop right next to the track, and then we'd go over there and spend all night.
Oh, it was fun,
Instead of going to dinner and to the hotel, we sat at the damn RC track all night.
Yeah.
We got into all kinds of stuff as a group. I really enjoyed working with you, and we actually got the chance to go to the racetrack together. You as my crew chief a couple times. Tony Jr. got suspended, and right when the COT comes around, I remember having to drive that car right around that time. But he gets suspended, and he's thinking, well, I'll go take a vacation. Like, they're going to give me a vacation. I'll go take a real one. But then somehow or another in the conversation leading up to the next race, y'all learn that he's not suspended from the property. He can be on the property.
That's
now,
right.
it's kind of a common story. We go to New Hampshire,
Yeah.
and we run good.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me coming off turn 2, and on the outside of the racetrack, there's a camper on a hill. This thing's got I'd say about 4 feet of freaking 4x4s and stacked under one end of it just to keep it level.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous as
Yeah.
And then Tony Jr.'s on top of it.
Yes.
Talking
exactly.
to you.
Yes.
And calling helping
Calling
us
the race.
call the race. Now, and so I'll say this, like, Tony Jr. it was not something that he particularly worked hard to hide from NASCAR.
No, he didn't.
He's kind of like, all right, I'm suspended, but I'm still going to do my job. Going to do my job,
That's
and here
exactly.
I am.
He was the reason they stopped that. From
immediately.
doing that. You can't be
You can't be on the property.
Yeah, that ended that quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's been several rules made by.
We got busted because we went to Darlington and we had the COT had just come out, and Tony Jr. had figured out something.
We made wing mounts.
The wing mounts.
Right, because we found out that the distance between the wing and the deck lid was where the downforce came from. Right. So we ended up making a set of wing mounts. And the only way to really tell was if you measured between the deck lid and the wing.
How much difference do you think you'd gained?
Oh, we gained, it was 60 thou offset, so it was over an 8 3/16 at the deck lid. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, picture it like this, it's kind of like the underwing or the diffuser on these cars. The closer you got that together, man, that hair would tighten up and that hair would come.
Huh.
So Tony Jr. figured out how to do all that and what we're going to do. So I'll never forget that. So we're pushing through tech, and we had already made it out of the tech line, pushing it up the hill, and here comes the officials. Hold on, stop. Come back down. So we're like, what's up? Let's come back down. So we back it over there. Darby's like, back it over there against the building. So we backed it over there, and we're standing there. Here comes Big Bradley. Bradley comes over there, and he's talking to Darby, and they're like, take those wing mounts off. Take the wings off. And I looked at Two Beer, and I said, Two Beer, they got us. He's like, oh, God. I said, it is what it is. I said, let's just play cool, get it off, do our deal, and maybe they won't find it. They're going to have a template to find this. So Bradley had stuck his he had the little gauge, the 60. So he had stuck his gauge in it when we went through for tech. I'm thinking, well, that's kind of odd. Why would they do that? Who would know that? Nobody would know to check that.
Huh.
So somebody, we feel like, kind
ratted
of
y'all out.
But it is at this point, we're like, okay, we're busted. So I say, man, tell Tony Jr., tell Stiffy we're busted. Like, we're done. So we back over there, take the wing mounts off and all that, and they check it, and they got a brand new set right beside it, and they got pins that drop in, so they drop them in there, they wouldn't go in there, right?
Yeah.
So me and Two Bear standing there, and so we're trying to find wing mounts put back on it. We're standing over there, and there's a table over there, one of them little fold-up tables, sitting over there, and they got them wing mounts laying, though they just took off our cars, laying on that table. And me and Two Bear are standing there. Two Bear looks at me and goes, oh, man, I'm going to grab those wing mounts right there, and I'm going to take off running. He said, he says, if they can't find them, they can't throw us out. I said, Two Bear, they already know. He said, but if they don't have proof, how are they going to know? He's like, I'm getting ready to grab them, and I'm going to take off running. I'll be out of this place in no time. And you know Two Bear.
Oh, yeah, he was serious as a heart attack.
Oh, yeah. I said, Two Bear, please don't do that.
He was crazy.
I said, Two Bear, they'll have dogs and helicopters after you here about 15 seconds, dude. I said, it's over. It's it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, they busted us. We put wing mounts on it and continued on. But Tony Jr., and that's the fun stuff that I learned from those guys, was they were always thinking about what's the next way I can stretch it. Where's that gray area I can get in, or I can talk my way out of. And you know, Tony Jr. was always like, you always got to have a way to talk your way out of something. Yeah. Whatever you get into, make sure you have a way to kind of talk your way out. At least a story that sounds pretty good. I
remember when they started making everybody run if you had a roof camera or not, you had to run that little peel on top.
Yeah, the Big Mac thing.
Yeah, it's a big old dome. Yeah. And Tony Jr. we always had them Bud decals, and Tony Jr. would get the thickest Bud decals he could get and then stack them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was literally like maybe 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch that it was just a little bit disrupting the wind.
Oh, yeah.
Disrupting the wind in front of that cone on the roof.
And he would, and, you know, Stiffy worked really good at, you know, working the metal around that deal. So, you know, that thing was pretty heavy. So, working the metal, making it as thin as we can make it, so when the wind hit it, that thing would fall down. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, you know, you could talk about, but people.
Yeah. You know. People think when we were winning all those races at the restrictor plate races, I mean, Richie Gilmore has he has a knack.
Yeah.
He has the ability to build a better restrictor plate engine than anyone else.
Yeah, hands down.
Hands down. Yeah. And he still does
hands
today.
Down. You
right?
see it. Yeah.
And so, but there were so many tiny details that all together added up.
That's right.
And I remember y'all going to the wind tunnel and just finding
little bitty things,
little bitty tenth here, little this, little that, little this, little that.
Yeah, like we'd go there with a shrinker and stretcher and and the little paddle hammers and wooden hammers and sandbags and Tony Jr. would work on all that stuff, just changing the shapes of fenders and changing this and narrowing up the nose, or just little things that you couldn't see by eye, but man, it made a huge difference on the stopwatch. And those guys were good at that.
Yeah. You know, years down the road, I met Hendrick with Letarte, and by that point, the approach to restrictor plate racing wasn't really putting all of that type of effort in. The details were really the effort and the energy to put the details in was more toward all the short track mile and a half stuff, right? They just basically said, hey, look, it's the draft is a normalizer.
Yeah.
We're just going to build a good car with a good engine and do the best you can. And I go down to the racetrack and I was like, look, I'm a good restrictor plate racer, but like the details matter and make it easier and I can do things these other guys can't when my car has all of those.
That's right.
And so
that raw speed you can't make up for.
And he started doing the details, and they started working really hard and giving me some really great cars. We ended up going down there and winning another Daytona 500. Hey, TJ, you know that I got my own Chevy dealership down in Tallahassee, Florida. We're part of the Hendrick Automotive Group.
Yes, I have heard of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Chevrolet.
I bet you'd be surprised on what type of Chevrolet vehicles we specialize in.
If I had to guess, I'm going to say it would probably be Chevy trucks.
Well, we definitely sell plenty of those, but actually we're really big in commercial vehicles. We actually sell a lot of crane trucks. We're the number one seller, actually, in crane trucks.
Okay, I definitely did not see that coming.
Yeah, pretty neat, huh? Yeah. So for any of our listeners shopping for commercial vehicles, here's some things you need to know about us at Dale Earnhardt Jr. Chevrolet. We have hundreds of trucks in stock, so you can find what you need fast. And we have people there that can help you with custom orders. So if you want to build the exact vehicle you need, we can do it. We offer complimentary delivery anywhere in the continental U.S. Plus, Hendrick Automotive Group is the nation's top-rated dealer group for online reputation. Visit DaleJuniorChevy.com and click Commercial to explore the wide range of available commercial vehicles. Our team at Dale Earnhardt Jr. Chevrolet will give you a world-class experience. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Help me understand the transition from DEI to SHR. You know, Tony Jr.'s gone, I'm gone, you're now the crew chief of this car. Mark Martin's driving it, Eric Almirola's driving it. It's fast. Y'all are running great. But, there is the kind of writing on the wall, I suppose, of how difficult the future is going to be.
Yeah.
for DEI. How do you end up basically, for the most part, taking that entire team with you to SHR?
Well,
two beer and all those guys.
Yeah, we took everybody.
Yeah.
We were a family, right?
Yeah.
Because DEI was our family. You were our family, and it was difficult to stay when you guys left. You know, we're happy for you because you're bettering yourself. You're going to be better, but we weren't sure how we were going to be. But a few of us did know we knew what was coming. We had seen it leading up, and we had talked to you obviously quite a bit after you'd already left. But we just got together as a group, Jay and Two Beer and everybody, and we're like, look, we kind of built this thing. We trust each other. We got each other's back. Let's take this to the next place. Let's just stick together, go try to make this work. And I told them guys, I'll take care of y'all.
Yeah.
Like if I get a job, I'm taking you with me. I'll take care of you. I promise.
So you got offered an opportunity?
Yes. So, and Mark Martin was the biggest supporter of us as a group because Army was a sponsorship. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy that went to them and said, hey, you need to take this group of guys and go race. And there's an opportunity with Tony Stewart, and they're starting up this new team. You need to take this whole team and just transplant them over here and go race. So Mark Martin's the one that basically put the Army and trust in us, went to bat for us to make sure we had jobs, but stayed together as a group, had a sponsor. So it wasn't probably a couple weeks after that when Tony Stewart grabbed me at Talladega and wanted me to come meet with him in his bus. And so I do. I go over and I meet with him. I'm a little nervous. I don't know, what's going to happen. And he said, hey, Ryan Newman's going to drive the car. We're going to start this. We're going to merge with this Haas team. Would you come crew chief it? And I said, yeah, but as long as my guys come. And they're like, okay, well, Stewart was like, he was kind of walking on thin ice too, because he didn't want to overstep his deal. There's a lot of people already working there, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to bring a whole group in here. How does that going to look, and how's that going to go over? And I said, well, I'm not coming without my guys. So if you can make it work with bringing my whole team, we'll come. So we went over there one night, all of them. I said, we're all going to go do this.
Yeah.
We went over there met in the lobby at Stewart-Haas Racing and met with Eddie. Eddie was there, Eddie Jarvis, Tony, Joe Custer, and somebody else. Maybe Carl Klein was there. And we had this discussion on how it's going to go. This is what we're going to be. I'm bringing my own guys. I'm not leaving one of them out. Either they all come or not.
Yeah.
And Stewart pushed to get it done and made it happen. And we finished Homestead on Sunday. We started Monday morning with all my guys. They actually handed us our packet with all our insurance and all of our stuff in it at the racetrack at Homestead, so we could all start Monday morning.
No kidding.
And so it was another emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, I remember. It reminded me a lot of back in the day. I forget how this happened, but either between Hendrick and Yates, remember the 88 team or the 24? Somebody bought somebody's entire team.
Yeah,
I forget which way it went. Me and Ray were talking about that on the show, but you never really saw that before.
Yeah,
but they knew, and Mark was right. Y'all's program was still overachieving.
Yes.
At DEI.
Yeah.
With everything that was going on at DEI and how they were kind of struggling.
Yeah.
Y'all were getting everything and more.
Yes.
Out of those cars. And in a large part, not only to your leadership and the team's cohesiveness and their bond, but Mark Martin too.
Yeah.
Mark was incredible.
Oh, he's I tell you, when you talk about drivers who drive but have worked on race cars and understand the fundamentals of racing and how rubber meets the road and what it takes to make that happen and what he wants to feel, there's none like him. He actually makes it easy because you can lay out 3 different options. If I'm tight, loose, or let's, break the corner down. Here are your options. Here's what I got for you. Shocks. Mark was always, he would sit there for a second and think. He'd say, let's go up on the bar and put a 100-pound right rear spring in it. And you're like, dude, are you sure? Like, yep, that's what I need. You do it, instant speed.
Damn.
But he knew from the seat of his pants what he needed. So it helped. And it educated us as well. When we moved on, I was like, I learned so much from that man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a driver, right? But I learned how to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And what he was feeling and what we had to give him to be successful. So it helped me. So it was another learning page for me in my book.
Yeah.
With being around a guy like that.
At Stewart-Haas Racing, you mentioned working with Ryan Newman. You actually helped Danica when she transitioned into NASCAR. And I thought that having worked with Danica here at Junior Motorsports and having me remembering, I guess, the enormity of her transition, how big that was, how many eyeballs were on her and how many people were paying attention, I really felt like that you were the perfect guy for that situation. Your ability to stay, to be able to be calm, to be able to work with her and keep her expectations managed, to help her kind of understand what she's experiencing, because there's a lot of things happened to her in that Cup car that she'd never experienced before.
Yeah.
And I felt like you gave her the best opportunity that she would have coming into a situation like that. I wanted to say that, that might have been coincidental that y'all's lives sort of crossed paths at that moment, but I can't think of another person better suited to sort of help her transition into the Cup level. You ended up working with Kurt Busch in 2015. You had an emergency appendectomy.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people that know you were very concerned about. Anytime any of us have any kind of a medical issue, and we've all, we might not be in contact with each other or keep up with each other in terms of, day-to-day texting and so forth. But once we all have worked together, it's like,
your family.
Your family.
Yeah.
And I think everybody was a bit worried about how serious that deal was going to get for you. How tough was it?
It was tough. It was really tough. But it was tougher not thinking I was going to be at the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
That was the tough part. The pain of the surgery and all that stuff is one thing, but I didn't want to be away from that racetrack.
Yeah.
So, I ended up flying out Friday. So I had my surgery, I think, on Wednesday.
Yep.
And I flew out on Friday morning. Kurt flew me up there Friday morning so I could be there in time for practice. My wife was totally against it. The doctor was not happy with it as well, but I'm going to be at that racetrack. I'm like, I'm not going to do nothing. I just want to be there. I can sit on the pit box. I can do my job without straining or doing anything. Well, so they do happy hour and practice. There's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was going to sneak up on this ladder and get up on top of this truck so I could see the car better and do it. So I did. I climbed up the ladder. It was a struggle, but I get up on the ladder, get up on top of the truck. Well, my wife sees me up. They pan over, and I'm standing on top of this truck. She's like, how in the hell did he get on top of that truck? So I lied a little bit, told them they dropped the lift gate for me and got me up there. I only had to go up 3 steps, which she knew better. But I was able to stick it out and call the race that day and stayed the whole weekend. And, look at all these people in racing that are real racers. They get hurt and they're going to find a way to make it to the racetrack. And I don't, if I miss a race, it's something big. When my daughter was born, a quick story, we were racing at Darlington. And so my wife was having a baby on Saturday. And she was having a C-section. So I told Alan, I said, well, put it off till I get done with happy hour. So I get done with happy hour, and Kulwicki gives me his Mark 8. That was the first one that we could lower this car down.
Yeah.
So happy hour's over with. I jump into Mark 8. I run, go straight to the hospital, do the C-section, all that stuff and everything. I get back in the car and go right back to the racetrack.
Damn.
She was pissed, dude.
I bet.
I mean, mad.
I don't know how hard it must have been though to have to like know when it was, like when you were, all right, I'm leaving. Because like I've been in that situation and like leaving that hospital knowing what you're leaving.
It's tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
But but
it's racing.
Oh, she brings it up every once in a while too. So.
Yeah, I bet.
But that's racing.
That's racing.
I mean, I just that's the way I was always brought up. You raced. You were the racer, and you did whatever it takes.
I assume winning the 2017 Daytona 500 your proudest moment.
It is, other than my daughter, my grandkids.
Well, yeah, in motorsports.
Yes, in motorsports, yes.
Yeah.
I'd been fortunate enough to be a part of 500 wins with you guys at DEI and Dale Jeff Gordon. But as a crew chief, when I was a kid in my dad's garage growing up, knowing what I wanted to do my whole entire life, to be in that position, to just win a race, but to win that race, that's it. That's what you dream about. All the struggles you go through to get that done, with my mom, my dad, all my friends, at your home track.
Right there in your backyard, yeah.
And as well as anybody, to win that race is extremely hard. Mm-hmm. Everything has to go perfect to make that happen. And I'd been trying for years to make that happen at that racetrack. And to overcome the race, we got in a couple little skirmishes and had to beat the side out and do several things. To go through that emotional race and have it end in victory finally after 30 plus years of racing, I finally got it done.
Yeah.
That's, I looked at Rodney Childers and I said, I did it. Like, I did it, man. I made it.
Yeah.
And to think about, my dad and, whew, man, it's tough.
Still emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, because it means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just means a lot.
It wasn't long after that you would decide to make a change and come off the road. This role that you felt destined to be, the crew chief of the car, the winning car, winning the Daytona 500, all of those things had finally happened. Did that make that choice more doable?
Yeah.
To finally say
it helps, but I didn't want to really stop. But my grandkid's on his way. My grandson's coming, right?
Yeah.
And like all of us, my daughter Lainey, growing up, I miss so much of what she did as a child. Mm-hmm. Growing up, basketball games, softball games, just things that I missed because of racing. Mm-hmm. I didn't want that to happen with my grandkids, so I made a decision, and I was blessed with Tony Stewart to let me do that and give me a role to where I could come off the road. I could still travel 8 to 10 races a year, which I did, still be involved, but be production manager. Mm-hmm. So I could still have my hands in it, still fulfill that need to race and be a part of something. So yeah, it all came together, and it made it a little easier to quit and come off the road. It was still a struggle, not packing bags to leave,
yeah.
and that's different.
Do you think you ever get over that?
I don't. I still miss the competitive
Yeah.
side of things. People ask me all the time, "Do you miss it?" I don't miss the traveling. I don't miss all that. I miss the people. and then the competitiveness, like wanting to win everything. You want to win practice, you want to win qualifying, you want to win the race. It's just that side of things. I still find myself now, scanners everywhere and listening and like, man, don't do that, or how would you do it differently?
Yeah.
And you still have that drive, and I'll probably always have that.
Yeah. When SHR effectively shuts down the majority of its operation, you got an opportunity to go back to Hendrick.
Yeah.
But you're working outside of motorsports.
Yes.
And I have to imagine that that you have to be probably as at peace or as comfortable as you've ever been in your professional life, having the ability to turn around and look back and see all of the success and all the boxes that you thought you wanted to check. They're checked.
Yep, that's right.
And now you kind of get to still be a part of a team, still be a part of something important, still be an asset
Yes.
to something.
Yes.
And talk about how today your life is fulfilled. I
So
suppose.
it's it's Hendrick Technical Solutions is the military side. We're roughly 30 yards from the two race shops, so that's cool. We're all in the same complex.
Yep.
So I'm shop foreman over there, and it's a lot going on. It's fast paced. We have a lot of, when you're dealing with General Motors and the government, you have deadlines and you can't miss them. They have to be hit and things have to be done. So I still get that feeling of, happy hour or loading for Daytona. That urgency is still there. The race is still there. And a lot of the things that we do, build the chassis and all that for these vehicles, it looks like a cup shop in there, right?
Yeah.
And you see these roll cages and it's like, man, it looks just like a cup shop. It does fulfill that fast pace that I like and the hands-on that I like. When they hired me over there, Weitzel actually is the one that Brian Weitzel is the one that actually hired me to come over there to do this. And they were like, well, we'll put your office in here. I said, I don't know an office. I'm not an office guy.
Yeah.
Like, give me a computer. I'll get out here on the floor somewhere. I don't care about having an office. I want to be with the people. I want to be with the guys. And the girls. I want to be there for them. And they hound me every day over there about in an office. And I'm not like, unless you guys want me to, that's fine. But I want to be with the people.
Yeah.
And I do every day. I'm out there touching, working on stuff, and being a part of the group and the hustle and the bustle, and that's what drives me.
Yeah. You still get to go to the racetrack, taking your grandkids.
Yeah. So that's a lot of
Millbridge.
fun. We go to several different racetracks and run, and it's a lot. My 7-year-old Luke, he's running the wing cart, cadet wings, and then my granddaughter Libby, she's all girl, so it's all about girls, stuff like that, which is awesome, which makes my wife happy. And Oliver, the youngest, he's 4. He's running a little champ buggy car.
Okay.
So got 2 of them
Your
racing.
hands full.
I got my hands full. Yeah, and it's all I can do to hold down a job and get that stuff prepared to go.
Yeah.
We run every 2 weeks. Somewhere. Sometimes we run, every week, which gets to be chaotic, but I love it. It's fun. It's racing. I still get to do the cool stuff and work on how to make it lighter. And I've been Tony Jr. and Pops. It's really cool because over the last year I've been able to hang out with them a lot at and we park side by side, and Pops is still Pops. He's still on the gas, wide open. It's been wonderful to be able to come all the way back around, and now me as a little boy dreaming of my dreams, and now my grandkids are, could possibly
watching them dream.
Them dreams.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
It's been awesome to talk to you because we have we have the opportunity to talk to so many different types of people in our industry, outside of the industry, that have different roles and different jobs. And your the thing that I seem to pick up on your deal is that you had an ability, a quality, and expertise that was always in demand. And I'm surprised by the longevity. Getting into, finally you worked on race cars well before that, but getting into our industry and NASCAR in the 80s, all the way to Daytona 500 winning crew chief in the last 10, 15 years. It's really impressive, to be honest with you, that you had the longevity that you did. You worked with a lot of people that were very successful. You were part of a lot of successful programs.
Yeah, and that's the key, is being with the right people.
Yeah.
Nobody is successful alone.
Yeah.
Right? It takes a team, it takes a family and a group of people, and I've just been blessed to be able to hit it right. I look at stones that go across the lake, right? Make sure you step on the right one. I was fortunate enough to keep my feet dry, and stepped on the right stones to get to where I am now. And a lot of people aren't that fortunate.
Yeah. I will say, though, that being a good person matters too. And one of the things that I think helped you was your mild-mannered personality, your emphasis on always doing the right thing, treating people the right way, no matter whether they worked above you, below you, beside you.
That's right.
You were never bigger than the whole team. And one of my favorite things was, I believe, in around the time you became a crew chief, particularly more so maybe in the years with Kurt, the rest of the world got to see that. Yeah. We all got to, we all got to really know you better and see you operate. And you didn't get to choose. You were in the limelight as a crew chief, and especially as a winning crew chief. And it was fun because I saw fans begin to pull for you. And the reason why they pulled for you might have been somewhat to do with the driver that you might have been a crew chief of. But a big reason why they pulled for you was because of the person you were and the character that you had. That. Yeah. And I always really appreciated that. You had an understanding, I think, that grounded you from back in your days working with your family and that race team, and knowing exactly what it took to get to the racetrack, and as hard as y'all had to work to get there and be successful. You carried all of that with you all the way till today. Yeah. And it's really inspiring, and it's a great story. I appreciate you coming today to spend some time with me. I miss you. Yeah. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Yep.
I appreciate it. And my dad passed away in 2019, and I'll never forget, you and Jimmy Johnson reached out to me, and with condolences on my dad. And that just told me there's friendships. Yeah. These guys have so much other stuff they can do, and they're busy. You guys are busy all the time, but to take the time, that meant a lot to me.
Well, you did a lot for me. You put me in some really great race cars, and I always enjoyed.
We had fun.
Yeah, we did have fun. Yeah. I always enjoyed being around you, Tony, and I'm thankful for the impact you've had on my life and many other people's too. And I appreciate it again for you giving me some time today. I know that they're probably wondering when you're going to come back over there and get back to work.
Yeah, I told them I'd be back. They said, "Oh, it's Dale Jr., go ahead." Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful.
Yeah. Well, all right, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me and to tell my story, and a lot of cool stuff, and we could go on and on.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll always be family.
That's right. Tony Gibson on the Dale Jr. Download. All right, a great conversation with Tony Gibson. They call him the old man. That's his nickname. I think the stories like his, they're fun because it's really I've said it before on this show, but we get these guys that come in here every once in a while, and they tell the story of how you get in this business. So many people want to know. I mean, there's so many people out there. There's all these kids over at the NASCAR Technical Institute right now taking classes Their dream is to be working on a car on Saturday, Sunday, or a truck somewhere. They're dying to figure out, like, how. They'll show up out front here, Junior Motorsports. Who do I need to talk to? What's the secret? What door? Where's the key to unlock the special secret door to get me into this industry and get me employment? And so I love Tony's story because that's it. There's a lot of things that his story can do to help somebody understand, the sacrifice and the commitment and dedication that you're going to need, or what it's going to take, because it's not, that part's not changed. Like the rules, the technology, the tracks, the cars, everything in this sport evolves and changes. But what doesn't change is the emotions and the effort and the dedication, sacrifice, and all the hard work that goes into putting it together. I'm not trying to preach about, what someone has to sacrifice and dedicate to be involved or find their opportunity. And it takes, just like in Tony's story, it takes luck, fortune, meeting the right person, dedicating yourself to some sort of cause and some team that you have to hope is going to work out. But Tony's is a great story. Come out of Daytona. Grew up right there at the racetrack, inspired by all of the racing going around in that area and racing with his family. And, man, the teams that he got to work with, the people that he got to work with and work alongside and connect with, and to be able to see it through to finally win at the Cup level and win the biggest race of the year, the Daytona 500 with Kurt Busch, pretty special. He's a great dude. I was lucky enough to have spent several years working with him, and loyal, dedicated, and dependable. Never once ever did I feel like I had to question his ability and judgment, and I knew that as long as he was there, it was getting done. It was getting done right. And again, his character and ability to manage people, treat people the right way, whether he was working as a car chief or at the top of the food chain. He was always the same. And he built a great group of folks that stayed loyal and stayed together and worked together all the way through SHR. From DEI to SHR was literally the same team. It's really cool. Same team that I raced with, minus Tony Jr. and Tony Sr., all the way up through the Kurt Busch days. So awesome to be able to talk to him and reconnect. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. It's time for the white flag. All right, so it's time for the white flag. Actions Detrimental and Door Bumper Clear came out Monday with Denny Hamlin. Denny was giving us more details on how he hit the jackpot, how much money he had to spend to get there. So I guess to learn that information, I'll have to go listen to the podcast because Travis wasn't going to spill the beans. But that's really the story I need to know about Denny Hamlin. And his race I'm sure was fascinating, but how much money did he have to spend to win that jackpot? Also, another fascinating episode of the Teardown post-race. If you haven't listened to that, Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianca do such a great job every single week recapping immediately after the race on Sunday. And I really enjoyed this one with the Josh Berry win. But we had our Dirty Air episode come out yesterday with TJ Majors. We had a lot of fun talking about the race and catching up on life. And obviously, Herman Schrader and Speed Street come out today, along with our episode with Tony Gibson that you're listening to. And then tomorrow, Bless Your Heart with Amy. We're back in the studio, and I have me a new chair. So I'm excited about that. But that's the week. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you again, Tony Gibson, for dropping in, and we'll see you next week.